Good day everyone, my name is Moyo and today we'll be looking at IELTS Writing Task 2, which is Essay Writing. Now the Task 2 is applicable to both general training and academic tests or module of the IELTS test. It's applicable to both general training and academic module of the IELTS test. We'll be back shortly. Now, today we're looking at the opinion essay. The opinion essay is one of the common essay type on the IELTS writing test, the writing task 2, because we are required to write an essay in 40 minutes of minimum of 250 words. So today we're looking at the opinion essay. The opinion essay most of the time, like I've mentioned earlier, is the most common type of essay under the IELTS test. Usually you have the key phrases as, do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? And we also have, is this a positive development or a negative development? So anywhere you see any of these phrases, just know you are being asked to write an opinion essay. Let me take that again. When you see expression or the question phrase that says, do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? Is this a positive development or a negative development? When you have any of these phrases in the examination, just know you are being asked to write an opinion essay. Now that said, let's look at how we can write an opinion essay. Now the opinion essay is usually written in 4 paragraphs. 4 paragraphs. The first is the introduction. Under the introduction, you're expected to give a general statement or a background statement, which could be a rephrase of the topic. Then you have the thesis, which is where you are going to answer the question, I agree or I disagree. Then we have the scope, which is the outline of your essay. So your introduction is expected to have all of these 3 things, and that is why most of the time the introduction is often written in 3 sentences or at most 5 sentences. Now, after the introduction, the next paragraph is the content or body paragraph. Now, this is often the second paragraph or in your essay. So the first content paragraph would have your first main point as well as the explanation of the main point. Your first main point as well as the explanation of the main point. While your second content paragraph would have your second main point as well as the explanation of the second main point. Now this explanation could have examples or not. Then the last paragraph is the conclusion. The last paragraph is the conclusion, where you restate your main point, or better still, you just rewrite your introduction, and that is all about the structure of the opinion essay. So this is how we are expected to write our opinion essay. This is how it should look like. Introduction, content body 1, content or body 2, then conclusion. I hope that is clear. Now let's look at an example. We have, some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. Some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, under examination situation, or if you have to write this essay, this is if you are going to be rephrasing any aspect of the topic, this is where you are going to rephrase. Some people believe that Hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. This is what you are rephrasing or paraphrasing if you are going to be making use of a paraphrase, and that should be your opening sentence in your introduction. Now, to what extent do you agree or disagree? This is where your thesis come in. If you agree, then you are going to write I agree under the thesis, then you give your reason. So I agree because, so when you are now agreeing because, that will be your main point, which is also going to be the scope of your essay. So I agree because, I disagree because, so that is what we are expected to do. So I have used this question to explain how your introduction should look like. Another way you can write it is this. After you've paraphrased the general statement, which is this, and you've answered the question, I agree, I absolutely agree, or I disagree, I absolutely disagree, any of the option you're going for, you can now write full stop. This is because that will be your scope. Or better still, maybe you don't want to include your scope at the beginning. So you could say, this essay agrees, and the reason would be discussed in the subsequent paragraph. That's another way to present it. I hope it's clear. So now, after you've done that, there is always something we call a plan. Other people call it outline, and sometimes it's called a skeleton. Now, a plan is just like a sketch of your essay, and it's always advisable that you write your plan. We always say you take 5 minutes out of the entire examination time to write out your plan, because doing this will help you write well. If you start writing without a plan, you might get stuck midway. So to avoid that, it's always best that you write out your plan. So to do that well, you are going to see that you read the question properly and you understand what the question is saying. And to do that effectively, you can decide to ask further questions. For example, some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. Do you agree or disagree? Oh yes, I agree. Hobbies need to be difficult in order to enjoy it. Okay, why should hobbies be difficult in order to be enjoyable or pleasurable? So when you say, oh, it should be difficult because, so all of those ideas coming to your mind, take them down. Those ideas will form the basis of your argument or the main point in your argument. Then the next question is how. How does this work? Or how does this work? How does this happen? Or how will this happen rather? How will this happen? So when you are asking how, this how will help you come up with examples that will explain your reasons. I hope it's clear. So now let's go and look at examples and see a full essay that is already written out. We'll be back shortly.
Hi, if you have not subscribed to this channel, you can do so in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to hit the notification button.
Okay, welcome back. So we are going to look at example of opinion essay. So we have the first one. Some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. Some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult to be enjoyable. That is the statement in our question, or that is our point of argument. Now, to what extent do you agree or disagree? That's the main question. That means, do you believe that hobbies should be difficult in order to be enjoyable or pleasurable? Or do you think hobbies don't need to be difficult in order to be enjoyable or pleasurable? So if you are going for that, that means you disagree. If you go for the first one, that means you agree. So let's see this sample. We have the introduction first. Some hobbies are relatively relatively easy, while others present more of a challenge. Personally, I believe that both types of hobby can be fun, and I therefore disagree with the statement that hobbies need to be difficult in order to be enjoyable. Now, this first sentence, some hobbies are relatively easy, while others present more of a challenge. That's like a rephrase of some people believe that hobbies need to be difficult and enjoyable. We don't be really, we can't just really write a sentence out like that saying some people, no, can't do that. It's not expected of us. We should write in a formal way. So we can say some hobbies are relatively easy, while others present more of a challenge. That's still talking about the same thing. But instead of now mentioning people, the people has been removed. We are now talking about hobbies because that's the main topic. Hobbies. Should hobbies be difficult in order to be enjoyable or not? That's the main question. So that is what you focus on, and that's what has been rephrased in this first sentence. Now, the second sentence. Personally, I believe that both types of hobby can be fun, and I therefore disagree with the statement that hobbies need to be difficult in order to be enjoyable. That's our thesis. We have answered the question. That means we disagree. We disagree. So now we'll now move on to our body paragraph, which is going to be the second paragraph of the essay, but the first body or content paragraph. So let's move on. On one hand, many people enjoy easy hobbies. One example of an activity that is easy for most people is swimming. This hobby requires very little equipment. It is simple to learn and it is inexpensive. I remember learning to swim at my local swimming pool when I was a child, and it never felt like a demanding or challenging experience. Another hobby that I find easy and fun is photography. In my opinion, anyone can take interesting pictures without knowing too much about the technicalities of operating a camera. Despite being straightforward, taking photos is a satisfying activity. So that's the first body paragraph, whose main point is many people enjoy easy hobbies. Then the explanation of how easy an hobby could be. So we have that. So like we said, the body paragraph is expected to have your main points, the explanation of the main points, as well as example explaining it further. So now the second body paragraph, we have, on the other hand, difficult hobbies can sometimes be more exciting. If an activity is more challenging, we might feel a greater sense of satisfaction where we manage to do it successfully. For example, film editing is a hobby that requires a high level of knowledge and expertise. In my case, it took me around 2 years before I became competent at this activity, but now I enjoy it much more than I did when I started. I believe that many hobbies give us more pleasure when we reach a higher level of performance because the results are better and the feeling of achievement is greater. So this is the second main point. This is the second main point. But now in this situation, the writer has decided to write about difficult activities simply because the writer is actually in between, because he said, I believe both types of hobby can be fun. So we can do that sometimes, but we can only do that when the question says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So you can stay in the middle. But when the question says, do you agree or disagree, or do you think it is a positive development or a negative development, in this kind of situation, you are required to stick to one side of the argument. So now here's the conclusion. In conclusion, simple hobbies can be fun and relaxing, but difficult hobbies can be equally pleasurable for different reasons. Now we can see that is a restatement of the main point. So that's how our conclusion should be. We should restate our main point. I hope that is clear. So now let's see another example, but this one would have to be another opinion essay. We'll be back shortly. Here's another example. We have universities should accept equal numbers of male and female students in every subject. To what extent do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? So you can begin directly. Like in the case of this write-up, we have, in my opinion, men and women should have the same educational opportunities. That's the direct way of answering. However, I do not agree with the idea of accepting equal proportions of each gender in every university subject. So that's the introduction, just 2 sentences, which is good enough. Now, the first body paragraph. Having the same number of men and women on all degree courses is simply unrealistic. Student numbers on any course depend on the applications that the institution receives. If a university decided to fill courses with equal numbers of males and females, it would need enough applicants of each gender. In reality, many courses are more popular with one gender than the other, and it would not be practical to aim for equal proportions. For example, nursing courses tend to attract more female applicants, and it would be difficult to fill these courses if 50% of the places needed to go to males. Now the second paragraph. Apart from the practical concerns expressed above, I also believe that it would be unfair to base admission to university courses on gender. Universities should continue to select the best candidates for each course according to their qualifications. In this way, both men and women have the same opportunities, and applicants know that they will be successful if they work hard to achieve good grades at school. If a female student is the best candidate for a place on the course, it is surely wrong to reject her in favor of a male student with lower grades or fewer qualifications. In conclusion, the selection of university students should be based on merit, and it would be both impractical and unfair to change a selection procedure based on gender. So that is that. You can see both body paragraphs are sticking to one side of the argument, which is disagreement. One side of the argument, which is disagreement. So sometimes we could have in between, that's midway argument, like the first example we've seen, and other times, which is the appropriate way, we should have one side of the argument. I hope that is clear. Let's see another example that is related to positive or negative development. Positive or negative development. Okay, here's another example, but this has the phrase, do you think is a positive or a negative development? So here's the question. These days, more fathers stay at home and take care of their children, while mothers go out to work. What could be the reasons for this? Do you think it is a positive or a negative development? That's the question. So let's see the answer to the question. We have, it is true that men are increasingly likely to take on the role of house husband, while more women than ever are the breadwinners in their families. There could be several reasons for this, and I consider it to be a very positive trend. Now that's the introduction. The first sentence is a rephrase of the first part of the question, which is, these days more fathers stay at home and take care of their children while mothers go out to work. Okay, what could be the reasons for this? So that's the question. So the second sentence the second sentence is the answer to the questions being asked. The first part says there could be several reasons for this. That's the first part. And the second part says, I consider it to be a very positive trend, because that's the second part of the question. So now let's move on to the body paragraph. So we have, in recent years, parents have had to adapt to various changes in our societies. Equal rights movements have made great progress, and it has become normal for women to gain qualifications and pursue a career. It has also become socially acceptable for men to stay at home and look after their children. At the same time, the rising cost of living has meant that both marriage partners usually need to work and save money before starting a family. Therefore, when couples have children, they may decide who works and who stays at home, depending on the personal preference of each partner, or based on which partner earns the most money. So that's the first part, which is dealing with the reasons. Now the second part is, in my view, the changes described above should be seen as progress. We should be happy to live in a society in which men and women have equal opportunities, and in which women are not put under pressure to sacrifice their careers. Equally, it seems only fair that men should be free to leave their jobs in order to assume childcare responsibilities if this is what they wish to do. If this is what they wish to do. So that's the second paragraph, whereby the writers agree that it is a positive trend and it should be seen as progress or a progressive move. So now let's go and see the conclusion. Okay, this is the concluding part of the second paragraph, where we have, couples should be left to make their own decisions about which parental role each partner takes according to their particular circumstances and needs, which is true. Then the conclusion finally. In conclusion, the changing roles of men and women in the family are as a result of wider changes in society, and I believe that these developments are desirable. So you can see that's an example of opinion essay coming in form of positive or negative development. Is there any question you'd like to ask? Please drop it in the comment section, and remember to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next class, where we'll continue with the essay writing.